Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Zone Coverage. I'm Cody Schoeler here with Ryan Root, as always, ready to talk about some NFL action heading into week 13. 5 weeks left, 13, 14, 15, 16, 6 weeks left. My math was off. So we're going to go straight into some news, starting with quite a bit of news impacting the game tonight. Saints, Cowboys. You want to talk about the Saints or the Cowboys first? I'll give you the choice.
We'll have to talk about the Saints first.
Okay, so the Saints. Do you want the good news or the bad news?
Let's start with good news.
Start with the good news. Well, depends on how you look at this, but Taysom Hill seems to be in line to start at quarterback tonight. And next to him in the backfield will be Mark Ingram, who obviously missed last Thursday's game, the Thanksgiving game, but he should be back. Don't want to spoil the bad news, but Kamara's out. We'll talk about that in a second. But I don't know how people are going to feel about this. I think it's good news, maybe because I've had Taysom Hill on my bench in fantasy, and I've just been waiting to play him because he's a good fantasy quarterback. But, yeah, so Taysom Hill, Mark Ingram, backfield. Is this good or bad? You tell me.
It's fun, but if they weren't playing a team like Dallas, it'd be a little bit more fun if they were playing like the Jets or something. But it's going to be fun to see Ingram, take the starting role in the backfield for the Saints. I believe this is the first time that he's either playing or starting for New Orleans.
He started 2 weeks ago when Kamara was first out.
Okay.
And then missed last week. Because he's only been there for a month-ish. But yeah.
Yeah, so it'll be exciting to see Taysom Hill do whatever Taysom Hill wants to do really when he takes the ball. So, it's not like they had a whole lot of hope with Trevor Siemian at quarterback. So, having Taysom Hill at least gives you a little bit more range to get a little creative with the play calling and whatnot.
Yeah, I think they held on too long to Trevor Siemian. He obviously filled in for Jameis Winston when he first got injured and was able to continue the win against the Bucks. But I wasn't impressed with what he was doing. It wasn't working. He wasn't, putting up good enough numbers to really give them anything to hold on to. And so I in my head I've been calling for a Taysom Hill switch, maybe a little biased for a while, but last year as a starter he won I believe 3 out of 4 games, so that's something. We'll see what happens, but at this point the Saints, they were definitely floundering with Trevor Siemian. This could maybe get them back into that playoff picture. We'll see. But the bad news is that Alvin Kamara, along with Ryan Ramczyk and Teron Armstead, the right and left tackle, respectively, will all be out tonight. So not a lot of help around Taysom Hill. So that is the tough thing. Also tough on Mark Ingram, running behind a line that will not be full strength against a pretty solid Cowboys defense. So that is, on the other hand, the bad news for the Saints.
Yeah, and Taysom Hill having no protection. I don't even want to know what Taysom Hill under pressure is going to look like. So, from both edges, he's going to have people coming at him the entire night. And, he's flashy and creative when it comes to doing, play action jet sweeps and all that fun stuff with their offense. But you got Taysom Hill in pressure. Taysom Hill does not have a good touchdown interception ratio at all. That's just not the type of quarterback he is.
Not passing.
Yeah, it's like he's not necessarily a quarterback. He is by position, but depends on how you want to see him. So the fact that he's not going to have any protection, that doesn't look great for the Saints coming out on top tonight.
Yeah. Offensive weapon, more like it. The Cowboys have a decent pressure rate, top 10, so they're not going against the most dominant pass rushing defense, but you've talked about it before, and I agree with you. Sean Payton is just a name to trust when it comes to offenses. We've seen him go differently with offenses from week to week. He had a different offense with Jameson because he knew he couldn't let him throw it 30 times a game. So I think we will see an offense that is, well designed. It'll just come down to execution. I don't think that it's going to be necessarily an issue, with Taysom Hill's skill set because Sean Payton knows what he's getting into. And just want to say, I don't know if this has been officially announced. I know it's just heavily expected. So, if Trevor Siemian does start, don't come calling for my head. I'm just, reading what's put out there, but strong likelihood he starts. And then the Cowboys, we've got some good, some bad, maybe not all. Maybe it's all good, but Amari Cooper expected to play tonight. He's missed the past couple of weeks in the COVID protocol, and Mike McCarthy in the COVID protocol will not coach tonight. So he's been doing all right, but I don't think it's a huge loss for them. Good for Amari Cooper and for Dak Prescott to get him, back to what he was at his peak, getting all of his receiving weapons back. And then, I don't know who's going to be taking over. Kellen Moore will be calling the offense probably all on himself. I don't know how much Mike McCarthy does in that, and I assume Dan Quinn will, he's the defensive coordinator, probably the interim coach. I don't know, but I don't think that will impact them as much as Amari Cooper coming back.
Yeah, Kellen Moore stepping in as the interim head coach, I think would be best, but he doesn't have head coaching experience, obviously. Yeah. He may very well be a head coach in the near future, whether it be in the NFL or college. But I would give Kellen Moore as much coaching power as possible tonight. Mike McCarthy, he is technically a Super Bowl winning coach, but Dallas wasn't super high on getting Mike McCarthy in the offseason. So Kellen Moore, he is arguably the best offensive coordinator in the league right now. He knows how to run this Cowboys offense to a T. Take advantage of Zeke and Tony in the backfield and Dak throwing to Amari or CeeDee Lamb. I would give Kellen Moore the keys because on defense, like we were talking about, they're not going to have protection for Taysom Hill. He's not historically a good passer. They don't have Kamara. So, what are we really going to expect here? It's going to be an interesting offense for the Saints, but I'm going guns blazing if I'm the Cowboys tonight.
Yeah. I assume Moore will have some offensive autonomy, and we'll see how that goes. Now we've got 3 players expected to be out for a few weeks. DeAndre Swift expected to miss this week. Dalvin Cook suffering a torn labrum. I don't know if there's a timetable yet. Not expected to miss the whole season. And then Deebo Samuel expected to miss 1 to 2 weeks. These are all good producing players for their teams, all expected to miss some amount of time. What stands out among that bunch for you?
Well, Deebo Samuel is going to hurt the Niners offense quite a bit, and considering they're the second wild card team as of right now, your spot is, you're kind of on the hot seat right now to get that spot in the standings, considering there are 4 teams that are 5-6 and 2 teams that are 5-7 that haven't had their bye. So you got a lot of teams that are ready to take over. New Orleans could very well win tonight and be 6-6, and then San Fran's going to have to figure something out. Same thing with Minnesota. Same thing with Philadelphia. Their spot is not solidified whatsoever. Obviously it's a wild card spot, but Deebo not being there, Jimmy G's been playing decently, as well as, just the 49ers defense is really just the bread and butter. But not having Deebo to throw to and George Kittle being somewhat of an inconsistent receiving tight end, it doesn't look fantastic. And I think Elijah Mitchell's probably going to get a bigger workload now, but I'd like to see how they can respond, because if there's any coach that can really respond to an injury like this with one of their top playmakers, I'll trust Kyle Shanahan over most coaches.
Yeah, see how Ayuk steps up, and then the running backs. I'm not too concerned either way. More concerned with Detroit because both of these teams have highly capable backups. Obviously, Alexander Madison has done it, 3-4 games every single year and has done a really good job. And then Detroit is just that, number 2 role to Aaron Jones last year and has also, done good when called upon. So obviously it hurts to go from having, one of your best players, to then his backup, regardless of how good he is. But I think it might end up hurting them. Maybe I think Detroit more than Minnesota, but I think, just good for these backups. Good for me that I was somehow able to pick up Alexander Madison on the waiver wire in one of my leagues.
Yeah, so, you may or may not be still on one of my teams in one of my leagues, but no, obviously Minnesota. Minnesota can work around this as they have in the past with Dalvin Cook.
Yeah,
some of his injury stints, but Detroit, man, I mean, this is like the top guy on offense, and now he's not going to be there, and now you got to work through Jamal Williams, which I mean could have a worse back in the backfield, but Jared Goff's not going to get you very far, and Jamal Williams, you better come with your A game on Sunday. Because, they should really come with their A game every Sunday.
Regardless.
They haven't won, but, that's going to hurt the Lions, even though the Lions are already leading out for the rest of the season.
Yeah. So we're going to move on to the Fantasy 5, which I have a little different I've got a different format for it this week. We're going to do a little thing I call Like It or Leave It. I've gone through the past 5 weeks and got some notable fantasy production, either good or bad, and we're just going to talk about if we like it or if we're leaving it and we don't think it'll continue, because starting to get very close to fantasy playoffs. These are when it doesn't matter where they were drafted, where you got them, what you gave up. If a dude's hot, you got to ride the hot hand. So this is where you might need to make some questionable calls. But we're going to start with quarterback. Kirk Cousins has been 6th in points per game over the last 5 weeks at just under 19. Are you liking it or leaving it?
I'm going to like this one, considering, Minnesota's in the playoff hunt and they're going to be a little bit more aggressive going forward. I think Kirk Cousins is a capable quarterback of making the playoffs. We'll see about winning a playoff game, but I feel like Kirk Cousins is a capable quarterback to take advantage of their receiving weapons, considering you don't have Dalvin Cook. So I'm going to like this one for Kirk.
Yeah. Who cares about the NFL playoffs? You just care about the fantasy playoffs. And Kirk Cousins is always that borderline guy. Like, he's the guy who's going to be 8 to 10 probably at the end of the year. Isn't going to, go too crazy. But with the weapons he's got there, he's going to be solid. This isn't an aberration. So I think he continues that pace, and especially with other quarterbacks seeming to struggle, could be a really good play. Next, we've got Jimmy Garoppolo, 9th in points per game at 18.17. So just a little bit behind. I believe he's 4th in overall points with them not having their bye and everything. But what about this one?
I'm leaving this. You'll never catch me putting faith in Jimmy Garoppolo. So he's, like I said before, they've been playing well as of late, but don't have Deebo Samuel for the near future.
Could just be one game.
It could just be one game. It could be 2. It's not the end of the world for him by any means, but the pressure's starting to get back onto Jimmy G when we're heading into wild card standings and whatnot. So I'm not going to trust him going forward, especially since I won't check the rest of their schedule like I want to, but I'm sure they have to play 2 NFC West teams, and I don't know if one of them is the Seahawks. I think they
play the Seahawks this week.
Okay, and then the Rams and Cardinals, I'm sure they have to play one of them again. So
that's week 18.
They got a lot of pressure coming up.
Week 18, so shouldn't be mattering in your fantasy playoffs. I will say I like it if you're streaming quarterbacks. If you're just if you really need to find one, maybe you're in a 2 quarterback league, because he's got a really good. He's got Seattle and then he's got Cincinnati, but then Atlanta, Tennessee, Houston for the most likely the playoffs for your fantasy league could be really good, especially if Debo's back then. So I'm not don't put all your faith in him, but there could be worse options out there. So I'm gonna not going to like it, but I'll kind of like it. Carson Wentz, number 12 in points per game at almost 17. He's been somebody I've been talking about recently, has been playing surprisingly well. but I'm going to leave it in terms of fantasy here. This is Jonathan Taylor's show. Carson Wentz might be a great quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts, but he won't be a great quarterback for your fantasy team. He could put together a decent, this week, probably his best one, but then they've got a bye, so that's weird. This late in the season, then New England, Arizona, I like him for the Colts, but I don't like him for your fantasy team.
I'm trying to see if I can find his recent games to see what his high in fantasy points have been. But in terms of fantasy, like you said, I'm leaving this one as well, considering this is the Titans' twin brother in the same division. Really, he's playing the role of Ryan Tannehill, and you have Derrick Henry in the backfield with Jonathan Taylor. So I'm not going to put a ton of faith in Carson Wentz when he doesn't have the weapens that Tannehill does.
Exactly. The worst weapons.
Right. Tannehill can put up a good game here or there. Obviously he has more of a workload now without Derrick Henry there, but what does Carson Wentz have to deal with? He has the receiver from USC. I can't remember his name.
Michael
Pittman. T.Y. Hilton has completely just fallen off as a receiver. So, there's not a whole lot to work with, and Lord knows they're not going to play Desmond Patman from WSU. They're just keeping him cooking, but, so I'm going to leave it as well. In terms of fantasy, not looking great. In terms of just being a capable quarterback for a football game, right, we're on the same boat.
Last one for quarterbacks, Joe Burrow. He's been 23rd in points per game over the last 5 weeks, with under 50, just 14.27 a game. This is certainly a fall from grace from how he started the season. What are you going with here?
Honestly, I like this because I think Joe Burrow will finish out the season strong. Obviously, he's had some ups and downs. He's a second-year quarterback. He hasn't played a full season yet, right? He barely played half a season, if I remember.
He played 10 games last year. I think got injured in the 10th game, yeah.
So he hasn't played an entire season yet. We don't know exactly what he's capable of in a season wide. He's capable of a lot more than I think people are giving him credit for. And Jamar Chase is on track to being a front runner for Offensive Rookie of the Year thanks to Joe Burrow. Obviously, Joe Mixon's a big part of this offense. Don't want to spoil too much because I know we'll talk about him. But Joe Burrow, I think I'm going to like Joe Burrow for the rest of the season because I think, the Cincinnati Bengals know the spot that they're in to shock the world. I'm going to put my faith in Joe Burrow.
All right. So since this new segment, we're talking about the trends here. So you're going to leave it since since it's a bad trend, you're going to leave it. So, but you like Joe Burrow. You see how I'm getting in here? It's like buy or sell, like you're going to sell.
Right. I'm buying then, if that makes sense.
But yeah, something I didn't realize until we kind of started doing this is, a lot of these are connected. So you'll hear some teams that we talk about a lot. I am going to like it. I don't think he will be as bad, but I don't think he gets to being that really like top option again. Obviously, I think they're leaning more towards Joe Mixon and running the ball, which they should be doing. We'll talk about him in just 1 second. So I think he could be solid, but he's not, throwing the ball downfield a bunch to Jamar Chase as much. The touchdown seems to be going to Mixon. So we'll see, but I don't know if he is, this incredibly great fantasy quarterback going down the stretch because he has not been putting up a lot of touchdowns. But we'll go to running backs and start it with Joe Mixon, who has been absolutely on fire, second in points per game of the last 5 weeks, 25.8 behind just Jonathan Taylor. He's been going crazy. He has the Chargers this week, who have given up the most rushing yards in the league. I believe that still holds true. Yes, it does. So he's going to have another big game and add on to that. So I definitely like this one.
Yeah, it's tough to say much against it. Is he going to keep this form for the rest of the season? Time will tell. Joe Mixon has a lot of people divided when it comes to is he a top back in the league or is he overrated? I think is really the conversation surrounding Joe Mixon. But lately, it's been working out for him. And if you don't want to put your faith in Joe Burrow, you might as well put it in Joe Mixon because one of the Joes is going to get it done. It's pretty much the Cincinnati offense. If Joe can't connect with Jamar, then Joe's back in the backfield. So Joe Mixon is gonna finish as one of the top running backs in fantasy towards the end of the year, much thanks to Derrick Henry not being able to contend for it. And Saquon Barkley still going through injury issues, Nick Chubb, etc. Joe Mixon, I would buy in on this and say that he'll probably be a top 5 back by the end of the year.
Yeah, there's only room in this town for one Joe, and I think it's Mixon, but we'll see how that goes. Now we've got Elijah Mitchell. He has been 7th in points per game over the last 5 weeks at 16.1. Took a little bit to kind of get going. He had the job. He had some injuries, but when he's been playing, he's been doing well. Kind of the 49ers offense has just been playing really well as a whole, and Elijah Mitchell's getting a lot of carries, and he's doing good work with them. I think this continues. I like it. If he's getting a bunch of carries in a 49ers offense that is pretty dynamic, then, I like whoever that is. And so as long as he's healthy, I think, he's going to be productive for your fantasy team.
That's the key thing there is healthy. But I'm going to buy in as well.
Yeah, because the recent one was a broken finger, which is, pretty fluky.
Which, to be honest, I feel like you could probably play through a broken finger. Just tuck it in while you're running, But Elijah Mitchell, I'm buying in as well, considering that the San Fran offense kind of they need to go with the flow with what's working because the defense is carrying. So Elijah Mitchell being that diamond in the rough back for them, obviously a lot of people hyped him up when the season first started, and he's had some hiccups here or there, but he's found his footing quite a bit. And I mean, 16.1 points in the past 5 games, especially since San Fran's competing for that wild card spot still. I mean, he has 20-point potential against Seattle, I would definitely say. And going forward, I mean, not a top 5 back, maybe not top 10, maybe he is, but in terms of a solid option, running back 2, if you will, I mean, I would.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think he could end up being a top 10, the rest of the year if he kind of keeps up that usage rate. Last one for running backs, Daryl Henderson, still solid running back, 19 in points per game, 12.6, but it's not the guy he was to start the season. The touchdowns have not been coming. He has not scored a rushing touchdown since week 8, which is when this stretch started, and he's had 2 receiving touchdowns. I want to say like it or leave it. I'm leaving the trend. Leave it. I think the touchdowns will come back for him, but it's going to come down to the Rams offense. I could have thrown Matt Stafford in here for the quarterbacks as he's had some struggles. The whole offense is just kind of, not clicking. So I'm going to have some faith in the fact that they'll get it back, and Daryl Henderson will be a recipient of that.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this trend here with him, considering, he's filling in for Cam Akers this year. Mm-hmm. He was kind of that backup option from the very beginning of the year, and he's had some good games, had some lackluster games. I wouldn't have expected a whole lot from a running back of the Rams right now. When you got Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp, now Odell Beckham, as well as the defense to just keep teams off the field, plenty of over-the-top potential with Cooper Kupp. I mean, I'm not going to put my cards towards Daryl Henderson and think, oh, well, they're playing a really poor run defense team. Maybe we'll run him as a flex. It may work, it may not. I consider him a coin flip most times I play him, and that's just not a chance I'm gonna take on him. I mean, being top 20 is kind of deceiving because we don't have a lot of great quarterbacks playing or great running backs playing right now. So I'm selling on him. This is going to be Matt Stafford's show to finish out.
All right. Receivers, we've got a few listed here, so we're going to go rapid fire. Darnell Mooney, 6 in points per game at 16. Like it or leave it?
I'm going to like it. Who else you got to throw to over there, Al Robinson has been really.
I mean, he's become the number 1. He's doing good with Andy Dalton. I don't know if he'll finish that high, but I think, number 1 target in an offense is always good. Elijah Moore, number 7, 15.8.
I don't know if I could ever put faith in a Jets receiver until they get a great quarterback to give them the ball. So I don't care if he was number one. I'm not going to trust a Jets receiver as an option.
Yeah, I'm going to leave it too. A lot of that came without Zach Wilson, and Zach Wilson came back, and Elijah Moore didn't do as well. Still had the targets, but good play for next year maybe, but probably not the rest of the season. Jalen Waddle, number 11 at 13.2 points per game. Or no, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll like this one because Miami's competing. They're not in the playoff picture really anymore. But with Tua coming back and Tua, definitely defying some of my expectations. I don't know about other people's expectations, but Jalen Waddle, it's either him or Devontae Parker to really throw to there. And Jalen Waddle, I think, has upside at that receiver spot just with the potential he has. It was either going to be him or Jamar Chase in the draft, right? So I'm going to like this one for sure.
Yeah, Devontae Parker's coming back. He's missed a lot of these games, but I don't really think that affects Waddle. I think that'll just let Tua, play even better. So I'll like this one. He's getting a bunch of targets, and that's the most valuable thing you can get. Hunter Renfrow, number 14, with 12.9 points per game. This half-point PPR, I want to say.
Okay. I mean, for Raiders receivers, like the Raiders offense is a little tricky for me, considering they have Darren Waller to throw to, and I mean, I don't know how well Josh Jacobs has really been doing, but Derek Carr is still getting it done for the most part. So I'll probably leave him here because I don't really know who the number one option is for the Raiders. Is it Renfrow? Is it Waller? Ever since they lost out on Henry Ruggs, this offense has kind of had to pick up the pieces along the way. So I'm going to leave this just because I don't see a whole lot of breakout potential for 20-point games or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree on that front. I mean, and to answer your Josh Jacobs question, I almost put him on this list and not in a good way. So he hasn't been doing great either. Not a lot of touchdowns to come from this offense, it seems like, or they're spread out at least. I will like it in the sense of I think Hunter Renfrow will be the number one fantasy wide receiver for the Raiders. So I think you can play him. And I think especially, if you're half point or full point PPR and sort of a wide receiver 3 or a flex. But in terms of being, number 14, top 20, not so much. But I think he's got a ton of value because like we talked about with Mooney, the guy who's getting the targets and getting the ball, that's always got some value. So that's like a half like. Now, I want to get back around to Jamar Chase. He's been number 36 with 8.6 points per game. And I just want to read a few names of guys who are above him who have scored more points per game in this stretch than him. Jamal Agnew, DeAndre Carter, Van Jefferson, Cedric Wilson, Kendrick Bourne. So, just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, not a great spot for Jamar Chase to be in recently, considering he's on, I think, 2 of my teams. But I mean, I'm going to continue to play him week in, week out, just for, I mean, he is one of those boom potential receivers is the thing. Although he is 8.6 points per game for the past 5 weeks, he could very well have a 30-point game like the back of his hand. He's just got that young star potential with him and Joe Burrow working. So it looks ugly for the time being, but I'm going to buy in. I'm loving this. So they'll figure out eventually. I mean, it's one of the Joes that are working, right? So I mean, this is one of the Joe's right-hand man. So I'm gonna buy in on this, even though the stat looks a little ugly.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave it because if you go back, there was the bye as part of those 5 weeks. The week before that, he had 200 yards. In his 4 games since, he has not had 200 yards. So the yards are just not coming. He's had no more than 49 yards in a game in his past 4 games. So the touchdowns are still there at times. He's got 2. Even the targets have been there, but the yards just aren't coming. So it shows that he's being used in a different way. I think he's incredibly talented, but the schedule's not lining up as well for him. So I'm going to leave it. Obviously, if you have him, you're playing him, but hopefully you've got some more consistent guys behind him. Mike Williams is number 42, 7.8 points per game, continuing the stretch of guys who were world beaters at the start of the year that have now gotten into some trouble, some struggles.
Yeah, I mean, any Chargers receiver right now, even Jared Cook at tight end, who I have on 2 of my teams, Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. I mean, Keenan Allen, if I can say his name, is really like he's just a reception machine for the most part. But Mike Williams, every time I've played Mike Williams over the years, it's a great projection, and he'll probably get like 8 or 9 points at most. Like I just always pick the wrong time to play Mike Williams. I feel like a lot of people struggle with that with Mike Williams. So considering that the Chargers are, going through plenty of, ebbs and flows right now in that AFC West division, I'm leaving this because, obviously the number one option is going to be Keenan Allen. Austin Eckler, you could argue, is the second option. And then there's
targets for sure. Yeah.
So Mike Williams, I just from previous experience and I guess a little personal bias with that, I can't put faith in him.
Yeah. Mike Williams was doing good at the start of the year when he was getting heavily targeted. For some reason that has changed. And so that is not the situation you want to find yourself in. Although Herbert and the offense has been doing good, they've been doing it kind of without him. So, especially with him who's had inconsistency problems before, I would definitely leave it. Last wide receiver is DK Metcalf. He's at 46 with 7.6 points per game. A few of those were without Russ, obviously. But even with the 3 with Russ, he's got, 12 points. I'm like 11 points. Yeah.
Something like that.
Combined.
Yeah. He hasn't
he was actually better with Geno.
Yeah. He hasn't had over 10 points with Russell Wilson back ever since the bye.
No, he's had 11 points total in 3 games.
Yeah. So, that, and then literally every week before the bye, with Geno Smith included, had well over 10 points. I think the lowest he had was probably like 12 or something is what I saw. 11.3 I see.
He had
I think I have a full point.
Half point. But even still, better than any of his games so far.
Right. And I've said it before in the past, between DK and Tyler Lockett, you really can't. I don't even think you could differ the two to see who's the wide receiver one.
Tyler Lockett was, I don't remember exactly, but he was much higher up the list than DK.
Well, sure, but
yeah.
It's like DK and Tyler. Even Tyler, I have a hard time, putting faith in right now because the Seahawks offense look like they're playing football for the first time right now. So it hurts to say that DK Metcalf is not a buy right now, but even when they're playing against terrible teams in the stretch for the rest of the season, I'm not going to put a lot of faith in them. He was targeted like once.
4 times, but didn't come till late. Yeah.
They don't really know how to use them consistently. So I'm selling on this for sure.
I'm gonna put faith in a DK turnaround. Even those other 2 games, not including Monday, he had some of his highest target totals. It just wasn't clicking. I think they'll get back on track. Russell Wilson's got to throw him up the ball, throw it deep more. Got some good matchups. So I'm gonna say, DK is going to turn it around. You've got 2 tight ends, the first being Pat Freiermuth for the Pittsburgh Steelers, 3rd in points per game, 11.2.
Thank God you told me the team he played for because I've never heard of this.
He's a rookie from Penn State, but he's a baller.
That makes sense. Okay. Is this other than Kyle Pitts, is this the next, big rookie tight end that we got here now?
He's the big rookie tight end right now.
He's been playing pretty well as of late, I'm seeing here. With the Steelers offense being kind of somewhat of a question mark week in, week out, just revolving around Big Ben. Doesn't really have that big of an arm anymore, if you ask me. So the fact that they got a rookie tight end that's clicking, I'll buy in on this if people have already. Lord knows, I would be shocked if he was drafted in people's fantasy leagues. This sounds like a waiver wire pickup early in the season.
Probably drafted in some deep leagues, like some best ball stuff. But no, definitely not as a top 12, top 10 tight end. But I'm also going to like it. Big Ben likes to throw to tight ends. He always had. He's got a big weapon there. And, the checkdowns, the touchdowns are going his way. And we've talked about it plenty of times before. I talk about it anytime I talk about fantasy football. The tight end landscape can be very barren at times. So, he'll almost a guarantee to be a top 10 tight end just because of this stretch he's on. And because of that, I've got the guy who's 7th in points per game over the stretch, Darren Waller, in here as a bad trend at 9.1 points per game, because this was the second or the third tight end taken in your drafts, and the fact that he's 7th is bad for him, although it'd be good for almost anybody else. So this is a bad trend for Waller. I
mean, definitely this season it seems like your top 3 tight ends, Kelsey, Kittle, Waller, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone's going to say that. Obviously, you don't have to bat an eye on Travis Kelsey. He's going to produce.
I mean, he's had a down year by his standards, and he's still the easy tight end one.
He's literally the Derrick Henry of his position. Yeah. He will get you points. Mm-hmm. And then you have Waller and Kittle, which I have Kittle in one of my leagues, and it always makes me scratch my head when I'm like, why does he have 10 points? Why does he have 8 points? Why did with Kittle and Waller? I mean, other than a 16-point game on Week 9 against the Giants, again, I'm looking at I think full PPR on here, 18.6 against Cincinnati. He's really just having flip-flop performances, like good games and then poor games, good games, poor games, and he's doubtful this week. I mean, for now, I'm going to leave it, just in sense of, he's just got to find his footing again, and the Raiders need to take advantage of him again. But that's the trend I've been seeing. It's like Kelsey will do it for you, but then Kittle and Waller, it's like,
Well, the thing with Waller was supposed to be that, like Kelsey, he's a number 1 wide receiver, number 1 target on his team. Same kind of thing with Kittle, the best receiving option on the team. But for some reason, they aren't treating him like that. And as long as that's happening, I would be a little worried with him. I think he's got the potential to turn it around, because all he needs is to throw him the ball. He's that good. But for some reason, it's just not clicking. So, I would be a little worried about him as well. But now we get to go into some previews for this week. We're going to start off with the game we have alluded to already in the news with Dallas and New Orleans. New Orleans is at home, but Dallas is a 6.5-point favorite. What are you seeing here from them?
I mean, we were talking about it a little bit before, but with Dallas, I mean, even though they're missing out on Mike McCarthy and going through a little bit of injuries themselves, it's like I have a tough time thinking against Dallas here against New Orleans, because I mean, Kellen Moore just knows how to run this offense, like I said. So Cowboys are the favorites. I'm taking them to cover as well, and the Saints will give it their best effort. Don't get me wrong, but primetime Cowboys. I mean, when was the last time that they were on prime? I think it was the Thanksgiving game. It ought to be so.
I mean, that was last week. Yeah,
they lost a thriller to the Raiders, and they're going to come back swinging. And New Orleans, they're really grabbing at any sort of thread they can get a hold of. So, I'll take the Cowboys here to win and cover.
I'm going to throw some faith in Taysom Hill. Maybe it's for personal reasons, because I'm going to start him in our 2 quarterback league. But the Cowboys are slipping. They've lost some games, haven't been looking great, and I think New Orleans can hopefully take advantage of that. And I think all they've got to do is go out there, run their offense with Taysom Hill, and then we'll see. Maybe they can figure something out. So I'm definitely taking New Orleans to cover, and I'll even throw in taking them to win, just for the hell of it.
I mean, pretty much for the hell of it at that point. I mean, Taysom Hill, like, if he can have not even if he can have a big game, if he can have a game that quarterbacks have on a typical base,
why not?
That's what I'm going to at least look at him. But if he's going to come out here and throw 10 passes for 96 yards and 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions.
Well, not the interceptions, but give him a couple rushing touchdowns too, and I'll take that.
I mean, this is what the Patriots try to do with Cam Newton. It feels like,
it worked for a bit.
He's there taking the snaps, but he's there to be your Swiss Army knife. It's literally his nickname at this point. It's the Swiss Army knife and the Mormon missile or something like that, I think is his other nickname.
That's a good one. I haven't heard that one, but I like that one. Yeah, give me the Mormon missile tonight.
Okay, we got NFC South matchup, Tampa Bay against Atlanta in Atlanta. Tampa Bay, a 10.5-point favorite on my end here. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming it's something similar on your end as well.
Yep.
I mean, is there a reason to really pick Atlanta in this matchup other than, Tampa Bay is not going to have Antonio Brown in this game? Does that really affect Tampa Bay at the end of the day?
I didn't even put it in the news because it's so inconsequential.
Yeah, so I mean, Atlanta has something to compete for because they're one of those 5 and 6 teams in the NFC. That's they're the ones who are chasing those wild card spots. But Tampa Bay, I mean, they just need to put the nail in the coffin with the NFC South and just really book this division. Because I mean, it's not like anybody's really competing for the division, so to speak, but it's got to be Tampa Bay the entire time. And if Tampa Bay drops a game like this, I mean, you're really going to have to question their momentum going into the playoffs. So I'm going to take Tampa Bay because they should win this game.
Yeah. Can Atlanta win the game? No. Can they cover? I think so. They were last time they played very early in the season, similar spread. Atlanta was close to covering until Mike Edwards got 2 pick sixes, but Mike Edwards is one of the players suspended along with Antonio Brown, so he won't be doing that again. So I like Tampa Bay to win this, but they're not a team that I'm taking to cover double-digit spreads anymore. I need to see them get back to being, that juggernaut team. And Atlanta's offense it's not rolling, but it's not doing as bad as it has at times. So, this looks like a late backdoor cover, 8-point win for Tampa Bay for me.
Yeah, for sure. We have Arizona at Chicago. Cardinals are a 7.5-point favorite on the road. Hopefully we get to see Kyler Murray in this game.
Yeah, I forgot to put that in there. He is hopeful to play. That's what they're saying. So
better than questionable. So
you got to think that the line being only 7.5 is factoring in that he might not play. But I have no reason to not pick Atlanta or Arizona in this.
Yeah. Even if Kyler Murray doesn't play, I'd still pick them over the Bears because, I mean, if there's one thing I've seen with the Cardinals as of late or just this season, I mean, Cliff Kingsbury, I would argue, should be coach of the year. I mean, the fact that they've still remained afloat without Kyler Murray and have won games with Colt McCoy, I mean, they will win this game either way because I trust Cliff Kingsbury. It's a hard name to say fast. I trust him on the road and take down Chicago because I mean, Andy Dalton is Andy Dalton at the end of the day, and Chicago is not the worst team, but they're far from the best. So
yeah, Chicago almost gave Detroit their win. Yeah, the first one last week. I'm paying. One of the things I'm looking at most down the stretch is a Detroit win watch. We'll get to them. But yeah, Chicago is just not a team that hangs around with teams like Arizona. So Arizona covers for sure,
Yeah, we have Los Angeles, the Chargers.
You're not gonna segue into Detroit. I set you up there.
They're the very next one.
Okay.
The very next one on my screen. Chargers at Bengals. Bengals are in ahead of the Chargers in that tight AFC wild card race. Bengals are a 3-point favorite over the Chargers at home. This one, I think, is
Chargers don't have a home.
I mean, this one is kind of hard.
Yeah.
Cincinnati. I really want to ride the Cincinnati train for the rest of the year, and I was fully on the Chargers bandwagon from the beginning of the year, but both of these teams have kind of hit the reality check up to this point in the season. So the thing is the Chargers, I still feel like, are just not ready. Justin Herbert is definitely the quarterback of the future, but we all had huge expectations for Herbert, and he's not exactly meeting those expectations because the Chargers would be one of the best teams in the league if he was. I don't think Herbert is ready. and people would ask, Joe Burrow being a second-year quarterback as well, who wants to say he's ready? They have Joe Mixon to work with. Oh, but they have Austin Eckler and the Chargers. Yeah, well, they have Jamar Chase to throw to on the Bengals. Well, they have Keenan Allen. These teams are very, very similar.
It's a defense for the Bengals.
Right. The Chargers I can't trust is the thing. Chargers have had hiccups.
Yeah, their defense is not good.
But I would take the Bengals to win and cover.
Regardless of that, I need the Chargers to win in order for my playoff prediction to become correct because I don't have the Bengals making it. So I'm just going to selfishly and, manifest that happening so I can be right on that. Although all logic suggests that I should pick the Bengals. I'm going to go with the Chargers.
All right. And the Bengals
because
Chargers fans.
Because look at this season. When has logic been the right thing?
Sure, this season has been very strange.
Yeah. It'll
it has potential to get stranger towards the end of the year.
Speaking of strange,
yeah, we'll talk about Minnesota at Detroit here, with the Vikings as a 7-point favorite.
Minnesota's going to win.
You'd think like a playoff caliber team going to Detroit. I don't care if you're, the Chiefs or if you're the Niners who are barely in the playoffs. I feel like it should be more if we're talking about the Lions here.
Well, the last time they played, Minnesota won on like a last-second field goal. So, in Detroit,
Minnesota, yeah. So
Detroit loses, but they always play close, or I guess they tie, but they do always play close. But I'm going to take Minnesota. And what am I taking on the spread? Am I taking Detroit?
This is not the team that Detroit is going to get their first win off of.
No, I'm taking Minnesota. Yeah,
Detroit will get a win, but this is not the team that they will beat. Mm-hmm. Not this week. Maybe next week. Maybe the week after that. I'll let you know when Detroit gets their first win. But it's
remember when you told me that Detroit was going to win before Jacksonville?
Yeah, I do remember that. And I want to say it's not this week, but in the near future, we are getting Jacksonville Jets.
Yeah, it's like week 16, which I wanted to be a winless matchup, but that's not happening.
Yeah, that would have been great.
What else we got?
We have the Giants at the Dolphins. The Dolphins is a 4-point favorite. I mean, not a ton of people are going to be watching this game, Giants fans included.
Dolphins are rolling.
Fans, I guess
I'm a
Dolphins have something to watch. Sure,
I'm a Dolphins fan. I'm watching it. The defense is doing good. The offense is figuring out, and the Giants might have to start their backup, which, God, I can't remember who it is. Daniel Jones dealing with a neck injury.
It was McCoy last year, but
no, let's see. It's some like I'll figure it out. Don't worry.
But I mean, who would I take in this? I mean, I'm leaning towards Miami just based off Mike Glennon is what I'm seeing here.
Yeah,
and Mike Glennon is the third quarterback there.
Yeah, so. Mike Glennon. They're all the same.
Yeah, I mean, Tua's been clicking. He's been defying other people's expectations, like I said.
Your expectations. You've been a Tua hater all year.
I still somewhat kind of am, but if he wants to go and ball out against New York as a 4-point favorite, I'd take the Dolphins to cover. And
yeah, I'm taking Miami.
Yeah, I mean, Miami just has a bigger chance of winning this game when you really just line them up against each other. I mean, Daniel Jones is lucky. It will be lucky if he still has a quarterback job this offseason. So
yeah, Miami's a better team, and they're playing better. Simple as that.
Yep.
I'll take the favorite.
We got Philly and the Jets. Should we keep this one relatively short?
Sounds like a weird band name. Yeah, I mean, I'm taking Philly. Philly, I mean,
favorite. Yeah.
As a team that we both think could push for a playoff spot, they have to win this. They should have won last week against the Giants, but Philly, let's get back to just pounding the ball on the ground. Let's stifle the Jets offense and Zach Wilson, although you don't need to do much to do that. But yeah, I mean, Philly should take this, which means the Jets will probably win because I feel like every time we spend little time on a game, we always get it wrong. But I don't care.
Yeah, we had a coin flip the week before with Jets and Texans, and I think the Jets won. So
yeah, I will not pick the Jets.
Yeah, no way in hell I'm picking the Jets. Philly will have a good game against them. This should be, if anything, if I'm Nick Sirianni, I'm over preparing for this game. This is going to be a win. we're going to keep going for the rest of the season. So we have Indianapolis at Houston to face the Texans. The Colts are a 10-point favorite. Now that's something I want to see, a 10-point favorite when you're on the road.
Yeah, that's pretty
that
fair.
Right there that's domination before the ball is even kicked off.
Is that the Texans losing to the Jets? But it's another one. We'll spend 2 seconds on it. We might get it wrong, but I don't need to talk about the Texans. We'll go with the Colts.
Are they going to cover? 10-point favorite? Are they going to cover?
Yeah, I don't pick the Texans. I did pick them last week. That's because against the Jets, and my rule of not picking the Texans gets overridden by my rule of not picking the Jets. But since the Jets aren't involved, I'm not picking the Texans.
All right, we have Washington at Vegas. This is, surprisingly more of an intriguing game than I think some people will give it credit for. But Washington 5.
Yeah, because Washington's the 7th seed in the NFC right now.
Yeah, I mean this has potential of being somewhat of a defining game for both these teams when the season's over. So Raiders are a 2.5 point favorite. I think it should be even. I mean, I was going to say even closer, but I think it should be pretty much even at this point. Because I think these teams, obviously, like the Raiders are the better performing team this season. Washington's kind of just struck a little bit of luck, I'd say, as of late. I mean, they have the win over Tampa Bay, and they had a good win over Seattle, but it's hard for me to put more faith in Washington going up against a potential playoff team here. I mean, yes, they did have the luck in taking down Tampa Bay, but I mean, in Las Vegas, going up against another potential playoff team, even though I think we both know that Washington's not going to be one of those teams. I'll pick the Raiders here to cover that 2.5 point favorite, and the Raiders will keep on chugging. But Washington, I mean, you had some bright spots, but it's
if that bandwagon's coming back around, I might just have to hop on it. I'm not going all the way there, but as long as they got Taylor Heineke, it's always going to be easy for me to pick Washington because that's my boy. So let's, continue the hot streak. I'll definitely take him with the points. Keep it close. Both teams like to play close games, but I'll go with Washington. They're playing well. Things are clicking. Give me my boy Taylor Heineke.
Sure, why not? We got a thriller right here. This might be game of the week. This is going to be tough to decipher here. We have the LA Rams hosting the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Rams are a 13-point favorite. They might as well be 30. But we'll just pick Rams and move on here. So we have
this is a get right game. This is the Rams need it. They need a get right game.
This is Alabama going up against Eastern Arkansas University. Whatever.
I mean, the Jaguars beat the Bills. Don't rule them out, but I'm going to rule them out.
Yeah, they beat the Bills, but we're talking about different teams here, So
this could be one of the most important games of the Rams. This might be the most important game of the Rams season right here.
I mean, if we're going off of last year, the Rams lost to the Jets late in the season, and that's the only reason that Seattle won the division, as well as Seattle beating the Rams late in the year. Yeah. But
I mean, this might
slip up, but
this might be the most important game because if the Rams struggle against the Jaguars, it might be over for them. They'll make the playoffs, but that's bad.
If they struggle against this team, and even if it's a close win, it's a close win, that doesn't look for the Rams going into the playoffs.
They need to go back out there and do what they were doing for most of the season, get their shit together, and start getting ready for the playoffs because they still, unlike a lot of teams in the NFC, they still have a division battle to contend with. So this is huge for them. But Rams.
It's a must win for them. They still need to get in first place in the division. So definitely taking Rams. We have 49ers at Seattle for a 3.5 point favorite for San Francisco. No reason for me to pick Seattle here. So I'm going, as much as it pains me to go on the Niners side here, just with the history of this rivalry, but this is going to be a Niners win. Seattle has no home field advantage whatsoever this year. There's nothing that's leading me towards picking Seattle. Could Seattle win this game? Could they win? Yes, they could.
Oh, they will.
There's no way that they're going to win this game.
I am the Michael Scott meme again. I'm ready to get hurt again.
No, you're not.
Seattle,
this is literally Seahawk fan talking right now. You said the same thing last week.
Yep, but let me give you my rationale.
They're going to win. They lost.
Let me give you my rationale. Green Bay, lose by 17. Arizona, lose by 10. Washington, lose by 2. You see a trend?
Yeah, Russell Wilson can throw a damn touchdown. That's the trend.
They're getting better. And if the math works out, they should win by 7. So
I'm taking Seattle. They might lose by 17. So
I'm taking Seattle.
I'm taking San Fran. Seattle is they better start working on how to keep their players on the team before
they better start working on how to make sure that the pick they gave the Jets doesn't end up being a better pick than the Jets' actual pick.
They better start.
It is right now.
They better start working on Russell Wilson's new contract or working on.
They better start working on Russell Wilson.
That's what they need to be working on right now. They're game planning.
They better start working on Russell Wilson's new team. But
that's what I'm saying.
That's all we have to say on that front.
So we have Baltimore at Steelers for the last 1:00 game.
The division battle of
I think there's a
battle of ineptitude.
Yeah, I mean, the Steelers aren't a dangerous team by any means, but any division matchup between the AFC North, I'm going to pay attention to. The Ravens are obviously the better team, and I think the Ravens will get it done, considering I have them being the number 1 seed in the AFC. So I'm going to ride with that prediction, like you did with the Chargers.
Yep, manifest it. But
I think the Ravens will get it done.
The AFC North has turned into the Pac-12 of the NFL, and nobody wants to win. Nobody wants to do good. Everybody just wants to sit around and, kick their own ass. So I'm going to take Pittsburgh to cover for sure. +4. It's going to be a close game. But I'll take them to win here. Pittsburgh just got their ass kicked, but Baltimore just threw 4 interceptions in a game. So, pick your poison here. But yeah, I'll go with Pittsburgh because I think some pre-planned WWE. It's just whatever's got to happen for the entertainment value. And the closer this race is, the better it is. So give me Pittsburgh. And the Browns are out though. The Browns are out.
Yeah. Speaking of the Browns, forgot to mention at the beginning, but Browns, Panthers, Packers, Titans are the teams on bye.
Yep.
Which sucks. I really wish we could see more Titans and Packers this week, but we have the Sunday night game, which I think I saw this headline correctly. Was the Sunday night game swapped?
Yeah, it was Seattle, San Francisco, the first flex of the year.
Thank God. So we got
finally after putting crappy Seattle games in prime time, they decided to pull the plug. Should have happened the first time.
Yep, well deserved. If they're going to play Geno Smith on prime time, then yeah, we can make some space for Patty Holmes because the Chiefs are hosting the Broncos for the Sunday night football game. Chiefs a near 10-point favorite at 9.5.
Yeah, that shouldn't be happening.
Yeah, that's a little high considering Denver is not. They're a very middle of the road team. They're not a playoff team. They're not going to get the first overall pick. There's not a whole lot that you could really throw towards the Broncos being a great team, but
they're not 10 points worse than the Chiefs.
Because the Chiefs aren't the best team in the league. They're in the top 10 now, but they had their fair bit of struggles.
Yeah.
Is it safe to trust the Chiefs now? You could probably say so, but a 10-point favorite over the Broncos, I was thinking maybe around 5, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick the most difficult thing here, and that's a Chiefs win and a Broncos cover. I think it stays within. I have more confidence in the Chiefs winning than I have in the Broncos covering because if the Chiefs are playing as best they can, they should win easily. But I think that the Broncos are good enough to keep it within a score.
Yeah, the Broncos top 5 in the league in points allowed, as well as almost top 10 in time of possession, as well as almost top 10, literally 11th and 12th for sacks and interceptions, respectively. This is a decent football team.
Yeah.
And Teddy Bridgewater is not a terrible quarterback. He's not going to, take you to the promised land, but
he might be.
I don't think that this is going to be a typical, Chiefs blowout. It has the potential to be because it's in Arrowhead at the end of the day.
Yeah, we'll see how
throw for 400 yards and just make us all look stupid.
Yeah,
but
it's gonna come down to the defense for Kansas City. If they're able to, kind of slow down the Broncos. The Broncos don't have a great offense, but they've got two good running backs. They can, like you said, control the game, keep it close. But if the Chiefs' defense is really turned a corner and is able to, kind of stop them, shut them down, then the Chiefs can win easily. But I think Broncos will put up a fight, but they won't get the dub.
Yeah, I mean, like Patty Holmes has potential of turning over the ball multiple times. Potential to do so.
Yeah,
I think he's turning over at least one.
He also has the potential of throwing 450 yards and 4 touchdowns. So
absolutely, and I hope he does it. But this is a Chiefs win, and I'll agree with the Broncos cover. But
this isn't a double-digit game to me. But yeah,
right.
We'll do a little special here, and we'll hit the Monday night game now.
Ooh, I was about to say I want to talk about this game, but we can't.
No, exactly. It's too good to not talk about, so we'll talk about it here, especially because it's the best game of the week.
This definitely is. I love that this is prime time. I love that this is in Buffalo. We got the Bills hosting the Patriots, which this is going to be a gritty game. Like this is a rivalry that's been boiling for the past 2 decades because of Tom Brady.
Rivalry. Yeah. I didn't call
depends on how you define a rivalry. It's been teams don't necessarily like each other.
I didn't call the high school that kicked my high school's ass and everything our rival, even though we were in the same.
We don't play them twice a year every single year is the thing. I mean,
but
always just come to town in Buffalo and just stomp them for so long. But
that's not a rivalry. It might be a rivalry in the future, but it hasn't been. It hasn't been.
I mean, we'll see, but we have to worry about Monday night first with the Bills hosting the Patriots. I mean, this is tough for me because I'd like to pick the Bills. The Patriots are definitely no slouch as of late, and if anything, people are looking at them as one of, if not the best team in the NFL right now. I think the Packers are a little bit more of a complete team than the Patriots, but Bill Belichick going to Buffalo. I mean, he's made the trip plenty of times. Josh Allen doesn't particularly have good games against New England. Doesn't have particularly good games against Bill Belichick, period. This is a top defense going against the Bills. If the Bills want to prove that they are the top team in the AFC and they are the AFC East, true division winner, they have to take out the Patriots' number 1 defense in the league. But this is tough. This should be an even spread. The fact that the Bills are a 3-point favorite on mine.
Yeah, they're at home.
I think this should be even, to be honest with you. It's going to be that gritty of a game. I mean, before I make my decision, what are you going with?
Well, I'm just wondering, at what point did the Buffalo football team name their team after the coach that owns them? I think that continues. You'll have to
check your dates on that one, but sure.
They had their 1 year of dominance in the division. I think the Patriots are a better team right now, and so I will go with the Patriots.
This is definitely going to be, this has potential of being one of the best games of the year, I think.
Yeah. Well, every other time we've said that the games have stunk. So.
Yeah, I guess, but
it should be. These teams are incredibly even.
I think this will be the worst game of the year. I think the Patriots will win, 1-0 on no, you can't do 1-0. You can do 2-0 with a safety.
Yeah.
But the only way you can get 1 point is if there's a touchdown. So let's call this a 6-1 game with a safety on the 2-point conversion. Why not? No, I don't think it's going to be that game at all. But just for you picking the Patriots, I'm going to pick the Bills.
I mean, come on. You're acting like you were ever going to not pick the Bills.
No, I was contemplating picking the Patriots. Don't get me wrong. If they were going against the Packers, I'd probably pick the Packers. If they were going against the Titans again, I'd probably pick the Titans. But
they just beat
in
the
Buffalo,
Titans,
Monday Night Football, you got the Bills Mafia there, man. I mean, it's going to be a madhouse there. I mean, I'll have to check the weather, but early in December, I'm sure it's going to be cold and frigid as hell. So
you probably guess what the weather's going to be.
New England's pretty used to cold weather.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm going Bills just because you're going Patriots, and this has
going
potential
with
going either way.
I'm going with the true Bill Belichick, and Mac Jones.
I'm going with New York's team, Buffalo Bills here.
This is Mac Jones's chance to
This
be
is
a rookie of the year.
A lot of people are going to be looking at him. I mean, I think he's the rookie of the year.
Yeah, you don't really need a rookie of the year moment, but this is his moment.
This is a prime time deal. Yeah.
He kind of had that.
This is
what had it against the Bucs.
This is what puts him in the conversation of being a Pro Bowl quarterback in his first year, I think.
Yeah.
I mean,
he kind of had that moment against the Bucs where he kind of played well, but this is his moment.
Touchdown, Brady didn't.
Yeah. So, this is his game to be I'm ready for this. I can do it.
Play when the lights are on him for sure.
Yeah. So
this in Alabama
certainly will be one to watch over the weekend, along with pick whatever other game you want to watch.
I'm looking at that Jacksonville Rams game, man. That's gonna be exciting.
Yep. But that will do it for us. Thank you for tuning in. Remember to catch us next week at our usual times as we're talking about the NFL as it gets down to it. Can't wait to see how the rest of the season plays out. Reminder to also follow us on our socials, Dash Sports, on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, as well as check out the Dash Sports YouTube channel and subscribe to that. But yeah,